All right, so this is indeed a fundraising banquet. So we're going to talk some dollars and cents, and we feel like transparency and clarity is important. A lot of the families give a lot to the programs. We want to be clear about where the money goes, where it can go, and of course we want to sort of pitch to try to get more money in the future from all the people that are involved to try to do more things. Some of the kids have alluded to this. There are other programs that just have longer lineage. There's programs that started in the 1900s, and so they have their alumni friends groups start back in 1900. So they have just a much bigger breadth of alums to pull from, and we obviously started in the late 70s, early 80s, so it's a smaller group. Just to be clear, so we were asking for donations. There's currently 4 different ways you can give. You can give to the joint friends account, which I think is probably our preferred method. That way we can use it, either program can use it however we need it. You can give to the Women's Friends account. That's only the women's program can use those funds, or the Men's Friends account, they can use those funds. We started the Morgan McKinsey 93 Men's Endowment several years ago, and the men are a non-funded program, so that money is trying to be used, the interest off of that, to offset the funds that we can't raise every year. And then there's been some talk to start the Stephanie Edwards Deal 98 Endowment. For those of you who remember, Stephanie Edwards Deal spoke at our banquet 2 years ago, and she unfortunately passed away this past summer. And so some of her alumni have been, some of her classmates have been getting together, and we're talking about that. So in the future, there may be a women's endowment opportunity as well. Okay, what do we need? What is covered, what's not covered? All right, so the coach's salary, the full-time salaries, myself, Sabrina, and Tyler, those are covered by the university. And that's important, and I think it's also important. I know some of the alums feel like they give a lot of money and they keep giving money, and sort of what has the university done? To be frank, the university has done quite a bit. And so obviously when I came on, I was an assistant coach for the women and the head coach for the men. And then they elevated me to just the head coach for the men, and so that was a big step. And they hired a full-time position for Tyler, and that position is huge. And we've already seen it. I mean, we had women's volleyball camp this year, and Sabrina said, okay, those are my 2017 kids, those are the 2018 kids, those are 2019 kids we have committed. Those are sophomores already committed to Princeton, some of the top kids in the country. And that's a testament to Tyler and what he's done with Sabrina to recruit nationally. And so that program, I mean, if you look in the banners that are in the Princeton Volleyball, our gymnasium, with all of the championships from the 80s and 90s, the last these past 2 years, it's gonna go quite a bit. But that's the manpower that's on the ground, or person power that's on the ground. But this does not include Pat, and so Pat has been a huge addition for both teams, but both programs have to fundraise to pay Pat, and it's not a direct dollar exchange. I didn't realize this. If you pay $15,000, he gets like $10,000, because there's workers' comp, there's all the adults in the room know this stuff. I didn't realize that. So it's more than meets the eye to just raising $1 and trying to giving it to an assistant. Limited in quotes Nike apparel for men and women's teams. So we've tried to expand, and some of the girls, we've done really well with fundraising, so we've been able to get them some more things. But it's an expense, and that's what the parents are being able to pay for and subsidize. So laundry service is fantastic, and the girls are enjoying that, and we're trying to raise the money to have that happen for the guys as well. But you get 4 of those Princeton Volleyball t-shirts. We petitioned for that several years ago because we didn't have laundry service. So now we have laundry service, so we'll be getting 2. We'll probably get you 4, but that's going to be a cost coming back to us. So just trying to be clear about, there's a lot of different things that seem like they should be covered that aren't covered, and the families in the room and outside the room that are generous with their money goes to, I think, a more full experience for all the kids, because gear makes you feel cool. Essential program elements for the women's team. So the women's team, if they travel in region, hotels, food officials, that's covered by the university, but that's a small region. So my first year here, we went to West Virginia with the women's team. It was like, I don't know, 30, 40 miles outside of the region. The women's team had to pay for the hotels, the food, all that kind of stuff. They went to San Francisco last year to play in Northern California. It was a great trip. $30,000 had to come out of the friends account for that. So that's just to be clear about what the university pays for. Okay, not covered. So, knock on wood, we haven't had this in a while, but there was a year where we had a couple of guys and girls in golf carts, and then of course Brad Howard didn't return the golf cart. But if you get injured and you need a golf cart, that comes out of Friends. There's things that you would assume some sort of medical insurance would pay for. We always get shocked, like, wow, Friends is paying for that as well. The team room, some of you guys have seen. I'm still waiting on the women's social media blast for the team room, but their room is amazing. The men are working on finalizing the funding. So we have beautiful action shots in the women's team room right now. We're working on the men's. It's fantastic, but that was, again, $18,000 to $20,000 that we had to raise. Okay, women's assistant stipend, we talked about that, $15,000 a year, and the men coach's stipend. Women's assistant recruiting, travel, and lodging. So Tyler is a full-time assistant coach, and he goes on the road, I think, almost every weekend. Such is the life of an assistant coach at this level of Division I, but that's not paid for. So when he stays in a hotel, the flights, all that kind of stuff, that's coming out of friends. And that's something that Sabrina is petitioning and arguing for, but as of yet, something we still have to fundraise for. Again, I mentioned San Francisco, $30,000. The spring travel for the women, about $3,000. Official visits, $5,000. Chocolate milk, Gatorade, $500 each. Video equipment, volumetrics, $8,000. The women have won a lot, which is great, but we're getting them some cool stuff and it costs money. So rings, backpacks, gear, it's when you win, you want to celebrate that. But obviously those things are not considered essential from what's being under the pay structure covered for. The fueling station, guys, don't get excited, you're not getting this. But the girls have some sort of a fueling station that Coach King is doing for them with all kinds I saw it, it's amazing, with all kind of like Clif bars, and it looks great. But that's $800 they've spent on that so far. And so that's obviously another need that needs to be funded. And for the men, it's everything, right? Nothing is funded, so we have to fundraise for the operating expenses, team travels, officials, EIDA membership, recruiting. And as we've grown, we want to have a better professional program, so we spent about $115,000 last year. Part of that is with the Hawaii trip, but roughly we're around $100,000, which is up almost 3 times what it was my first year here. But my first year with the men, we would drive down, say we played Penn State on a Friday, we'd drive down Friday morning, we'd put 4 or sometimes 5 guys in a room, I'd give them $5 at McDonald's, and we'd play on Saturday, we'd drive back. And that's how you can get by on a budget of $35,000. And then in the subsequent years, we said, hey, let's be professional, let's go down on Thursday, actually stay in a hotel the night before, put 2 or 3 guys in a room, not 4, actually go to a reasonable meal, like Chili's, our fan favorite, and get some actual food. And so that's sort of expanding. Going back to California several times, obviously, is an expense, and so that's where we are with that number. So just to be really transparent again with the dollars and cents from last year, the women raised about $74,000. They spent $87,000, so they were in the red about $13,000 last year. The men raised $66,000, spent $115,000, and we're in the red about $48,000. And a big part of that was the Hawaii trip. The men also, we raised in total over $100,000, but a lot of that went toward the Morgan McKinsey endowment. So as the men have been trying to keep their head above water on a yearly basis, we've been trying to tuck some money away into the men's endowment because we feel like that is going to be our long-term success. And so the men's level endowment right now is $460,000. Is spinning off around $23,000 a year in interest, which is huge. And that's kind of our long-term plan to hopefully fully fund an assistant coach and that kind of stuff. But we're talking in the realm of $2.5 million, which, if anyone has that on them, that'd be great. That was a lot of laughter. It wasn't a joke. Okay. Okay, and then coming up, both teams are going on a foreign trip again next year. So we went to Nicaragua 3 years ago. NCAA permits you to go every 4 years. And we're planning a trip for next year, partly based on how much money we can raise. Nicaragua was chosen, I had some connections there, but that was about a $35,000 trip per team. It was relatively cheap, it was a great experience, there was a huge, talk about education through athletics. The guys and girls were reading with kids and playing soccer, and it was awesome. But I think we have bigger goals, and I think Europe is sort of on our mind. Italy, Prague, Slovenia, that's sort of the tour that we're eyeing at this point, but that's between $75,000 and $100,000 per team. So obviously, as Paul says, the more you eat, the hungrier you get. So the more we raise, our eyes get bigger and we have more aspirations. The team room. So just to show you some of the pictures from the women's team room, and these may not be the actual ones. This might have been an earlier mock-up, but just to give you an idea of some of the stuff that they can do in the rooms. I mean, they look dynamite. And there's a king holding court right there. It's pretty cool. So when you walk in that room, and especially for recruiting, I think, when you walk in the room, and Tyler, if I haven't got to pitch you this, but one of the best ways I think to sell a recruit is to say, look who was player of the year in 1999, and she's the head coach now. And I think you can really walk the walk when you bring someone into a locker room like this. I know for the guys, we have kids going to Stanford, UCLA, and they come to our visit, and I've shown them the sort of closet that we meet in. This is, which I'm very proud of that closet. And some of you are not keeping it as clean as it should be, but we'll handle that later. Well, yes, but we're very proud of the women's locker room. The men's locker room is on the verge of being solidified. We should have it hopefully in the next month or two. But again, something that the money is going for the donations. Okay. So now that we've told you what all your donations go for, we want to thank the families. In the last couple of years, we've done this system where we've said sort of you can have a sort of snapshot and see how many families gave at different levels. We had several families that stepped up, obviously to give some big numbers, but for us, the participation is probably the most important thing, and so it's nice. I think we had, I don't know if it was 100, but it was upper 90s, and some of the emails are still fluttering in, and checks are coming in, and people are pledging, but to have 95 to 98 to 100% of participation from all the families is really special. And you see what we've raised over the last couple of years, certainly from our first banquet in 2010, raising 22,000, up through, we hit the pinnacle at 100,000 in 2015, down to 89. This year, with not as much notice, and it's hard because the banquet fell early this year, we're able to raise a pretty substantial sum of $82,000. So clap it up, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your support. The next time we're going to ask you for money, just to be clear, is going to be tagged, and the tagged event is coming up in November. We focus more on the alums. This event has primarily been for the parents and the families, but we're going to really try to drum up the alums with our Chug Challenge, which I think Nico was a part of last year and got some of the juniors involved with, chugging water, obviously, but they were excited about that, and so we'll see how that plays out this year. But it's about participation, so you can actually win buckets of money from the athletics department based on participation. And so we would love $20 as the minimum to be a part of it. We would love some of the families we were talking earlier. If you can get aunts and uncles and cousins to put in $20, we can kind of run the numbers up on participation and possibly win some bonus funds.